Grimm Job Cinderella. Lois plays Cinderella while Peter naturally plays Prince Charming. Jealous that her stepsisters Meg and Stewie get to attend the ball, Lois is thrilled when fairy godmother Adam West arrives to transform her dog Brian into a steed and Joe into a giant carriage, who screams in pain through the transition. The story unfolds just like the classic tale, except there's no happily ever after for these two. As Peter's voiceover in the end reveals, the holy matrimony only lasted for a couple months before they had to part ways so they could find themselves. 3 directors Michael Bay. The Michael Bay segment of this episode mostly spoofs Transformers in the most spectacular fashion, because Transformers and Bay are both spectacle incarnate. It opens with a super jacked Peter hurling kegs of beer around the brewery he works at, but this only gets him fired. He cools off by showering with his motorcycle, but the US government soon contacts him, as they need his keg-throwing skills to defeat the Decepticons who are trying to destroy the 7 wonders of the world. He and his pals, who are also shredded, successfully defeat the evil Transformers in a fast-moving, blurry camera fight sequence, but Peter apparently meets his end in the process. However, Peter actually survives, and the episode ends with him making sweaty hot people love to Lois, who admits she didn't like the entire episode. Grimm Job Little Red Riding Hood. Stewie plays Little Red Riding Hood off to visit her grandmother, who's eaten by a suspiciously Brian-like wolf. When Stewie arrives, he immediately recognizes Brian for what he is, but resignedly goes through the motions of pretending there's any chance in hell a wolf could pass for a grandmother, doing a perfunctory tally of Grandma's big features. Before Stewie meets a gruesome end in the jaws of the wolf beats him to it, as Peter the Woodsman kicks in the door and chainsaws the wolf in half. Stewie then wonders aloud if the Woodsman is a hero or a madman, and his question is shortly answered when he hears the home next door similarly invaded, followed by the sounds of a chainsaw and a man screaming. 3 directors Quentin Tarantino. 3 directors parodies the styles of certain directors, as opposed to individual films. The Quentin Tarantino portion of the episode hits the mainstays, focusing mostly on Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction. The episode opens with a Pulp Fiction feel as Peter gets fired after offing a coworker and hangs out with a slicked-back hair Cleveland reminiscent of Samuel L. Jackson's Jules. After he's fired upon in his home, the story transitions to Kill Bill, with Peter donning a yellow jumpsuit sort of. It's more reminiscent of Ronald McDonald's getup and strapping on a saber to go confront his attackers. He faces off against a multitude of Trisha Takanolas, the Family Guy version of the Crazy 88s, dispatching them before moving onto a katana-wielding Angela. 3 Kings Stand By Me. The Stand By Me segment of 3 Kings might be the most surprising, as it's the least King-wise story one can think of, so much so that you may not even have known it was originally a Stephen King tale. Peter and his drinking buddies play the 4 boys of the story, though their names are amalgamations of their own and those of their kids. The plot unfolds just as it does in the movie, with Stewie playing the role of the junkyard owner, and Meg appearing as the body. Showdown at the end puts Mayor West in the Kiefer Sutherland role, which is actually the most accurately casted part in his gang of baddies, filled out by Beastman, Merman, and Norm from Cheers. The segment ends with a narration about what the boys went on to become as adults, mirroring the real lives of the actors whose characters they portrayed. 12 and a Half Angry Men. The parody 12 and a Half Angry Men takes aim at the more linguistically friendly 12 Angry Men, originally a play about a juror who firmly holds to his not guilty verdict while everyone else believes the defendant is guilty. As the story goes on, the room slowly comes around to juror 8 side Brian in this case. What's borrowed from the source material is essentially the cadence of the episode, as opposed to specific references beyond the plot. There's definitely no equivalent in the original to Peter's extended search for his cell phone in a public toilet he's already used. Like the play and movies, Brian eventually succeeds in convincing his fellow jurors of Mayor West's innocence, who was framed for slaying one of his aides. Carter Pewterschmidt is the last guy to fold, and this moment captures the same gravitas mixed with relief of the source material. Three Kings Misery. In the misery segment of Three Kings, Stewie takes on the role of the Kathy Bates character, while Brian plays the writer with whom he's obsessed and holding prisoner. The whole thing is only a few minutes long, so it's essentially just an extremely accelerated version of the events of the movie, most of which hinges on the tension between the two characters, who are by and large the focus of the entire film. For that reason, there's not a whole lot to do in this segment. Stewie subjects Brian to the requisite gruesome broken ankle, but the majority of the episode is witty banter between the two, bordering on monologue for Stewie. Three Kings: The Shawshank Redemption. Three Kings is an episode split into 3 separate stories, each based on a famous Stephen King work. The all-time great film The Shawshank Redemption is actually based on a novella of King's called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Peter plays Andy Dufresne, while Cleveland takes on the role of Red in addition to the narration duties. The plot is pretty loyal to the movie, at least in terms of the sequence of events, with one of the more memorable moments being Andy's trudge to freedom through the sewers. In this version, Peter covers his tracks with the David Cassidy poster the warden played by Carter pokes his finger through in a suspect manner. And then there were fewer. Agatha Christie's mystery story, And Then There Were None, is the basis for this parody, and it's a rather inspired one. A large cast of both Family Guy regulars and irregulars make up this one, which revolves around a dinner party inside a mansion that goes awry after a lifeless body is found. Houdinic goofs ensue, like Peter's giant magnifying glass that makes his eye look huge as the dwindling cast of characters try to discover the identity of the perp while they are picked off one by one. It turns out Tom Tucker's co-anchor Diane is responsible for the deeds, and she's about to take out Lois, who's uncovered the truth, only to be taken down by Stewie. Since the cast are all still Family Guy characters as opposed to being Christie characters played by those of Family Guy, it's difficult to say what's borrowed and what's changed from the novel. Essentially, the whole plot is different. It's a Trap. It's a Trap is the return of the Jedi parody fans of both Star Wars and Family Guy were waiting for. MacFarlane reached even further into his cartoon universes to bring in a couple characters from both American Dad and The Cleveland Show as well. Like the previous 2 installments, this parody is a scene-by-scene rehash of the source material, with Meg now playing the Sarlacc that Boba Fett aka the giant chicken gets knocked into after a classic Family Guy too long joke, this time involving a series of head nods between good guy conspirators in preparation for the Jabba Party barge takeover. There are also cultural references made outside the Star Wars universe, even Captain Picard makes an appearance at one point. Oh, and Rush Limbaugh is the rancor, whatever that's supposed to imply. Blue Harvest. Blue Jess Marino. Something, something, something dark side. Something, something, something dark side.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care. Bye.